Oh, hi everyone. I'm back with another video, but this time it's actually not going to be a travel video. It's going to be a video on South Korea and what to expect. So are you PCSing to South Korea anytime soon and you just want to know what it's like or what you should do to prepare yourself? Then watch this video. What I've done is I've listed all of the topics down in the description, so that way if you don't want to listen to the entire video, you can just skip ahead to that specific portion. And what I will be discussing, let me look up my notes. So I'll be discussing everything from like prior to you coming out here, like what you should do with like your bank accounts, and then also talking about phone service out here, and I'll touch up a little bit on quarantine. I do have a video on that already, and I will also put that down in the description if you're curious on quarantine. And then also talking a little bit about some Korean phrases that you'll find helpful, and then what it's like for an unaccompanied tour, since I am here unaccompanied. I am married, as most of you know, mill to mill, so he's actually still stationed stateside while I'm here for 1 year. I don't have any advice for those with family or anything like that, so this is a little bit more geared toward the unaccompanied individuals that PCS out here. So I'll touch up on stuff like that, whether or not you can drive or have a car out here. I'll talk about transportation, and then I'll also give you a tour of my room, my barracks, my dorm, whatever you want to call it. So if you're interested and just want to learn about these topics, then go ahead and watch the video. Okay, real quick. So as I was editing the clips to my video, this video ended up being way too long, like 45 minutes long. So what I'm gonna do is I will break this up into a 3-part series. I guess I had a lot more to say than I expected. So yes, this will be part 1 of this PCSing to Korea series. So stick around for part 2 and 3. Those will be listed in the description below as well. And I hope you enjoy this video. Thanks. All right, so first things first, let's talk about money. So obviously you know that there is a conversion that you have to do when it comes to the money here. They don't use US dollars, obviously. They use what's called the won. So let's say I purchase something out here in Korea and it's priced at 10,000 won. So that's gonna convert to about $7 or $8 American dollars. So of course with conversions it's constantly changing, so you just want to make sure that you're aware of that as you're shopping around and buying things. So like I said, typically I'll go out and it's like $15 for all you can eat Korean barbecue, so it's about like $16,000 or 16,000 won, and then it converts down to like, yeah, $14 US dollars. So just keep that in mind, and then I'll also show you a couple conversion apps that you can use, and it just makes things a lot easier. And you can obviously do the currency exchange at the airport when you get here. Just maybe have some cash on hand is always good. And then depending on what base you go to, there should be you should be able to do it like at the ATMs. A lot of times the ATMs will allow you to just get straight won, which is really nice. Or you can go off base, and typically there's a lot of like exchange stores, like currency exchange stores, literally right outside of base that you can go and take your US dollars and convert it there. So you can use your debit and credit cards out here. I highly suggest like using USAA or Navy Federal. I have both and I haven't had any issues so far, and it's just nice because the banks will actually already do the conversion for you. So if, let's say, I'm out eating and I want to use my card, even though it's in won, when it comes out of your account it already calculates it in US dollars. So the biggest thing, of course, is making sure that you let your bank know that you're going to be out here overseas, because you will get flagged. I know the first time that I purchased something online, it was for train tickets here in Korea. I did get flagged, so just keep that in mind. Make sure that your bank knows that ahead of time, and then that way it just kind of makes things a lot easier. You really don't want to be like out and about, especially when you first get here, trying to use your card and it gets declined. So just make sure, as always, make sure you get in contact with your bank. The next tip is making sure you unlock your phone. So there are some people that come out here who stick with their whatever carrier they have. So me and my husband, we have T-Mobile, and they do have like their international rates where you can totally take your phone over internationally and it'll work. But what I found out for T-Mobile, at least, is that it sucked. It really sucked. So yeah, I had like service, but it wasn't, your full on like 4G that you might have expected. So I got 2G. With 2G, I literally got no type of internet connection, so I couldn't use Facebook Messenger. I couldn't log in, I couldn't use Instagram, or I couldn't even just log into Chrome and like try to Google search something. So I was only able to make phone calls and then text, but even my text messages weren't going through. Like, it was really frustrating because, when you're traveling, you've been traveling for hours. We had a layover when I came here, and so I wanted to contact my husband and I wasn't able to, so that was kind of a downside. So that's something to keep in mind when you are traveling here. So if you're really worried about having phone service, then I would highly recommend, first, of course, unlock your phone. Unlocking your phone allows you just to have a little bit more freedom, especially if you do want to get a Korean SIM card. So unlock your phone, maybe get like you can purchase like Korean SIM cards online and test it out, on your way out here, just to see if you can get like better service, because yeah, I had no service at all, and it was frustrating. So I wish I had gotten or tried out like the Korean SIM card ahead of time. So I would highly recommend having 2 phones if you can. So even if it's just like an old phone, just use it. Like, it's really nice. So I'd have my regular phone that's gonna have like my T-Mobile or Verizon SIM in it or whatever, and then you can have a second phone where you can use try out that additional like overseas Korean SIM. That way, if it doesn't work, you still kind of have your other phone if that works. So it's just good when you're going overseas to have 2 phones. And then obviously, if you aren't able to, if you don't have a second phone, or you're not able to get that Korean or international SIM card prior to coming here, there is a lot of Wi-Fi here in Korea. Like, that's a big thing for them. There's a lot of hotspots out here. So like, there are people out here that don't ever get a Korean SIM card. Like, you don't have to if you don't want to. It does make things easier. I personally got one, and it's just easier if you do have to like make calls like around here in Korea, and then the service is just so much better. Because I know when I first got here, and once I finally got out of quarantine, I was I was going around shopping, whatever, but I didn't have a Korean SIM yet, and I would connect to like the hotspots and the Wi-Fi that was around, which it was nice. But of course, if you're in a car, or if you're in transportation or whatever, like, you're not going to get any type of service. So just depends on how you like. If you really want service or not all the time, then you should obviously switch over to a Korean SIM card. So at the exchange on base, they had 2 options here at Camp Humphreys. You can either go with LG. So LG, they do phone service out here, and then also internet. And then there was also KT service, so it's like a real local Korean cell phone service. I ended up going with them. I haven't had any issues so far, but you have an option of either doing a year contract, or you can do no contract, but it is more expensive with the no contract. So I went ahead and just did the year. I pay $65 a month, and it gives me unlimited data, unlimited text call, and then also it gives me 150 minutes for like international minutes. So if I wanted to call the US or whatever, I get 150 minutes every month, but it does not roll over. So 150 is all you get per month. Yeah, so again, just make sure you, if you can, try to have 2 phones. Try to get that international card prior to coming out here, just to make it a little bit smoother for when you transition and trying to talk to people back home. And then as soon as you get out of quarantine, then definitely hit up the exchange on base, so then that way you can set up your cell phone service. So next on topic is going to be quarantine. So I did already do a video on quarantine. If you are curious, then that will be posted up, either linked up here or down in the description, or both. But yeah, so I won't really talk about quarantine too much, except that I did go in twice. So the first one, like you'll see in the other video, is that's when I first PCSed here. So that was back in June, and some things have changed for the better, some for the worse, but I did recently just get out of quarantine for the second time, and here are some of the changes to quarantine this time around, which was about 2 months later from the first time I went. Sorry, checking my notes. So outside time, you still get to go outside. The times will vary. So for my group, we were the first group of the day. So we went out at 06:30 every morning. Usually it was for at least an hour. Some days we'd be out there for an hour and a half, which was really nice. Due to weather though, if weather is bad, inclement weather, then we are not allowed to go outside. Keep in mind that families, those here with families or pets, they will be allowed to go outside a lot more, which is nice. So if you have kids or something, then it makes it nice because they allow you to go out a little bit more. And if you're a smoker, they will let you go outside. So you just like message CQ and tell them like, I need to smoke, and they will actually take you out to smoke. So that's cool for you guys. Wi-Fi. So I know the first time I went, I was like, yo, Wi-Fi is amazing. I was getting like up to 80 megs for download speeds. Like that's really good. This time around, not so good. So the first time I went, we saw like the router was in the room, so I was like, sweet, we like have really great service, and I just assumed that every room had their own Wi-Fi router. No, that's not the case. I don't even know how they set it up, but it's super random. Like some people might not even have a router on their floor. They're having to like connect to one above them or below them. So yeah, this time around we didn't have the router. So the girls in the other room next to us, they were able to connect. Me and my roommate, speaking of which, that's changed too, but I'll get into that. So Wi-Fi, yeah, we got no Wi-Fi. We had to go like out to the kitchen common area and sit there to be able to reach the Wi-Fi across the hall, and their stuff went down a lot. So luckily I had my cell phone, so I used it as a hotspot. I felt bad for my roommate, so I let her jump on my hotspot too, like when she couldn't connect to the Wi-Fi. But yeah, so keep that in mind. Wi-Fi is not that great in quarantine, so I don't really know or have a solution for you guys. Like I said, if you can get that international SIM card to get 5G, maybe that'll work. You can, if you have a sponsor out here, maybe they can get you a little Wi-Fi puck or something, or a hotspot puck, something like that, because yeah, Wi-Fi was definitely a problem. Or just prepare yourself for not having internet and bring things that'll keep you busy. So the other thing about quarantine is that the first time I went through, I didn't have a roommate. So in a military barracks, think of it like a dorm room. So I've got my room here, but then right next to me is another room, and then we would share the common spaces, which is the kitchen and then the bathroom. So there's one bathroom and then one kitchen area. And that is one, I guess, room, technically. So the first time I went through, it was just me and then another female in her own room. This time around, there was 4 of us, so 2 in each little room. So no privacy whatsoever. I mean, for some of you in the military, you're like, whatever, it's the military, right? But for me, like, I'm older now, I'm an NCO, and you know, once you get to that rank, you kind of want luxuries a little bit. Plus I'm Air Force, so hello. So yeah, like when I found that out, I was like, what is going on? But I mean, it wasn't bad. Luckily, all the ladies were really nice. They were clean, which is good. But yeah, just keep that in mind, because now they're starting to cram people up into these quarantine dorms, which doesn't make sense, because it's like, I thought we were supposed to keep some distance. But as you'll see, like if you aren't familiar with a barracks or a military dorms, there isn't too much space. So yeah, just keep that in mind. And that's it for this series. So if you're interested to see what's next on topic, then go ahead and click on the video down below or up above for the next part to this 3-part series of PCSing to Korea.